While some people are content with decorating their homes with modest houseplants, I took a rather dramatic leap into property ownership by purchasing an entire forest. Not to sound boastful, but after dedicating countless years to the demanding world of technology, subsisting on a diet heavily featuring instant noodles, far more frequently than I prefer to acknowledge, and skillfully avoiding the intricate politics of homeowners associations as if they were carrying a contagious disease, I finally achieved my dream of acquiring a genuine slice of untamed wilderness. What I bought was more than just land. It was a magnificent, densely wooded sanctuary where the only governing rules are those naturally enforced by the resident squirrel population. My vision for this purchase was clear. It would serve as my personal sanctuary, a cherished expanse of verdant wilderness where I could retreat during weekends to savor my morning coffee in solitude, explore winding trails at my leisure, and occasionally indulge in play-acting the role of a rustic, off-grid woodsman. However, my dreams of tranquility were quickly shattered by an unexpected complication. The presence of a particularly presumptuous Karen who lives adjacent to my property and has somehow convinced herself that my forest exists as her private wellness center, recreational hiking destination, and, most astonishingly, asterisked her family's ancestral territory star. It started with a trail of breadcrumbs and entitlement. The initial period of ownership was exactly what I had imagined, perfectly serene. The forest was alive with the gentle symphony of birdsong, the soothing whisper of wind through leaves, and the occasional appearance of deer who moved through the property with the grace and courtesy of well-mannered guests. Then, disrupting this idyllic scene, entered her, Karen. She arrived dressed like she was heading to a garden party, complete with an unnecessarily elaborate sundress, an oversized floppy hat, and bizarrely, a clipboard clutched in her hands. Her entire demeanor suggested she was preparing to conduct an impromptu real estate showing of my forest. "Hi there," she announced with artificial cheerfulness. "I just wanted to make sure you're aware that my family has always maintained a tradition of walking through these woods. We're talking multiple generations of history here, actually, so naturally, we'll be continuing this practice." I stood there momentarily stunned into silence. "I'm sorry, but are you aware that this property is now under private ownership?" With a dismissive gesture that dripped with condescension, she responded, "Oh, sweetie, you can't possibly think you can own nature." I wanted to suggest she direct that philosophical perspective to the county property tax assessor's office. Upon my next visit to the property, I was greeted by an unwelcome surprise. The forest had been decorated with various trail indicators, garishly bright ribbon markers, chalk arrows drawn on trees, and most audaciously, a hand-painted sign proudly declaring * Karen's Loop, "Be respectful." The situation seemed so absurd that I questioned whether I was being subjected to an elaborate prank. But this was no joke. She had actually taken it upon herself to establish and mark hiking trails throughout my private woodland for her walking group's benefit. I made the decision to address this issue with her, maintaining a professional and courteous approach. When confronted, her reaction was nothing short of remarkable. "Listen here, young man," she declared with unearned authority. "You might believe you have ownership of this land, but this forest rightfully belongs to everyone in the community. You technology sector people are all the same, thinking everything can be bought with money." I had two immediate thoughts. First, at 35 years old, I hardly qualified for the young man label she so condescendingly applied. Second, this wasn't a matter of belief. I legally owned the property with a properly filed, officially stamped, and professionally notarized deed to prove it. From passive-aggressive to full-blown invasion *. As time progressed, the situation escalated beyond belief. I discovered her conducting an unauthorized forest yoga class on my property, a full gathering of 8 participants, complete with burning incense creating a haze in the air, and someone enthusiastically playing what appeared to be a handcrafted wooden flute. The scene was so surreal that I felt compelled to document it on video, knowing that without evidence, no one would believe such an outrageous occurrence. In response to these escalating intrusions, I took the reasonable step of installing a basic fence. Nothing excessive or imposing. Simply a clear physical indicator saying asterisk, no trespassing. Asterisk. The following day's events left me absolutely dumbfounded. Karen had actually destroyed the fence using garden shears and had the audacity to leave behind a written message. Don't block nature's healing path. You're not God. Indeed, you read that correctly. The situation reached its peak when she actually contacted law enforcement to report me. She filed a complaint claiming that I was engaged in harassment against what she termed the local hikers. When the police officers arrived and I presented them with my posted signs, legal property deed, and video evidence of the trespassing, their expressions of disbelief were so profound that I worried they might strain their muscles. But then the situation took an unexpected and rather satisfying turn. The truth about Karen's connection to the property emerged. She had indeed held ownership of a portion of the land, but that was decades in the past. Her family had made the decision to sell it. The buyer was a development company, and through subsequent transactions, the property ultimately came into my possession. Her behavior wasn't merely entitled. She was desperately holding onto an outdated claim to the property as if it were some precious family heirloom with supernatural attachments. Now the forest is peaceful again, asterisk. To definitively resolve the situation, I took several professional measures, hiring a certified surveyor to confirm property boundaries, installing official property markers and warning signs, setting up motion-activated security lighting, and adding one particularly creative trail marker. Karen's path to nowhere. Entry fee, $1 million in delusions. Finally, I can enjoy my woodland walks in peace and tranquility. Occasionally, I even indulge in a bit of playful revenge by taking my hikes while my Bluetooth speaker broadcasts No Trespassing by George Jones at a reasonable volume. The key lesson from this experience? Property boundaries are legally binding concepts, not mere suggestions. And a special note for Karen, should she happen to read this. Mother Nature may be generous, but she doesn't offer refunds on sold property.